very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Well, Hurricane Maria brushed by Barbados today, but not before dumping heavy rains and sending high surf crashing towards the shore, reserving the most spectacular for the wharf. The swells tossed boats around like matchsticks and in the process flushed out debris, spreading it across the road. Motorists were forced to use one lane. And for more now on Maria, we're joined by weather presenter Selma Green. Selma?
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. And of course, Maria did brush past us, as you indicated. But tonight, that system is a dangerous Category 4 hurricane. It's now packing winds of 130 miles per hour. The eye of that system is very visible and well defined. And tonight, the center is at 15.1 north, 60.7 degrees west, or about 45 miles to the east-southeast of Dominica. This system on its present track has the potential to affect the Leeward Islands, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, as well as Puerto Rico. And it also has the potential to generate some very life-threatening storm surges, large and dangerous waves, mudslides, very heavy rainfall, and of course the islands that we're looking at right now that are on the path of this system where hurricane warnings are in effect would be Dominica, Martinique, Guadeloupe, St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, as well as Puerto Rico. So, of course, we will keep our neighbors to the north in our prayers. And we will continue to feel the effects of that system. But I'll tell you more on that and take a little more detail, in-depth look of that system when we come back a little bit later in the weather news. Lisa?
Thank you very much, Selma. Well, although Barbados has been spared the worst of Hurricane Maria, it has still left its mark on the island. Kareem Smith reports.
The capital city of Bridgetown continues showing signs of weakness when faced with the impending threat of tropical cyclones. Boats were seen dancing violently in the wharf as the sea threatened to overflow its banks, spilling loads of water onto the road. Pedestrians making their way through the city found it difficult to escape the rising water on the streets. It's almost a mirror of when Hurricane Irma passed near to the country. In fact, later in the day, the situation deteriorated significantly, forcing the closure of Wharf Road. Over on the island's eastern side, winds proved to be the greater factor, as fallen trees made one part of Farley Hill nearly impassable. However, quick work from the Ministry of Transport and Works made sure a potential hazard was swiftly averted. But the wind wasn't the only factor in the east. While there was no evidence of any significant flooding in the area of St. Andrew, the gushing waters here at Lakes Bridge give us just an idea of the amount of water that Hurricane Maria has been dumping on Barbados. However, long-standing residents in that area say they've seen much worse quite recently.
Even though the rain was constantly falling, it wasn't as bad. Irma did it. She did it.
Tell me what she did.
She, the river was over. She bring down trees. Everything that she can get, whatever she can get, she bring down. So the tractors emptied that we had to come and clear the road. But Maria wasn't so bad. Just heavy raining.
Maria was no match for Irma.
No, Irma. Irma was the match.
Further east at Bathsheba, surfers would not be deterred from venturing into the ocean. But this time, it was a disappointment, with swells much smaller than they were when Irma passed.
Yes, it's a bit disappointing that they're not a little bigger, but also it's due to the direction of the swell also.
Just about 2 weeks ago, during the passage of Hurricane Irma, pro surfer Xander Venezia was caught by a closeout set that drove him into the shallow, rocky bottom where he was knocked unconscious. He subsequently died. However, surfers say while his death is still fresh on their minds, they know he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, schools were closed and a number of businesses adjusted their opening hours as Maria made its way towards the Caribbean. It passed just north of Barbados.
Rough seas and high winds here at 6 Mile St. Peter served as a reminder that Hurricane Maria was near. Several parts of northern Barbados were also lashed with heavy rain. Here in the north, Spike Stone was akin to that of a ghost town. Only a handful of businesses were open this morning. Maria left her mark as her strong winds had trees swaying and roofs on old buildings in the northern town shaking. It also brought down a high-tension wire at Sherman's in St. Lucie. The choppy seas attracted a number of curious onlookers. Over at Broomfield, also in St. Lucie, this key road was left flooded. Though it was business as usual at the Millie Eiffel Fish Market at Western St. James, boat owners ensured they were prepared.
Sometimes some guys wait till last minute because they just want to go back out, but sometimes a risk. Sometimes it takes more resources to do it. Sometimes people's lives can be in danger, and that is the last and least thing I want. I don't want to be dealing with a sea, no rough sea. And if I did be sea when it's smooth and it's rough, I'm out and gone. If my boat was at sea and rough sea, I'm not going to go for it. It will have to sink. So to be able to prevent that, I take the opportunity and the best appropriate time to remove my boat from the sea.
Since Irma, many at Western aren't taking anything for granted. However, somewhere to dock the boats is an issue for these fisher folk.
You can see there are a lot of derelict boats in the area that are no use. They're blocking the path, and it's interceding on our political space. Something needs to be done about it. Also, the fisheries don't have the mechanism now to pull boats out of the sea, and I think that's really sad.
The stormy conditions didn't stop fish vendors here at the Millie Eiffel Fish Market from venturing out to work.
It's just getting the rain now and a little rain and thing, and that's it.
Any customers coming to I see you packing out some fish here? Any customers coming?
I know the market not going to open because of the weather and thing. Right. Yeah.
Kishma St. Cbc News.
And if the damage done by the strong winds of Maria and flooded streets weren't enough, Barbadians had to grapple with an island-wide power outage this afternoon. Just before 3:30, the entire island was left without electricity as one by one parishes began to lose power. Crews from the Barbados Light and Power Company were working feverishly and power is being restored incrementally. The outage also affected telephones and some water pumping stations. Water is currently off in the affected areas, and up to press time, the reason for the outage was still unknown. Well, power outages and not a shutdown by the Barbados Water Authority were responsible for dry taps across the island. Many customers resorted to questioning the BWA after messages were circulated on social media suggesting the water company was turning off almost all of its pumping stations last night as a precautionary measure. But General Manager Keith Roy Halliday says this was not the case. He says the BWA is not in the habit of circulating messages to customers via social media first. Instead, he says the first step includes sending information to creditable news agencies or the Government Information Service. He says a lot of misinformation is being circulated, and he's told customers the BWA has a set standard operations procedures as to how shutdowns are conducted.
First of all, the information has to be escalated to the Director of Engineering and then to myself, where we determine whether or not it makes sense or whether or not we need to go that route. Then I in turn have to confer with the Chairman and the Board of Directors, which in turn, that information is in turn passed on to the Minister, who has to then relate it to Cabinet. So there really is a fixed standard operation procedure that we follow before we can actually make that type of decision that will have an impact on the national community. We do not just turn off water like that. The only incidents or times we would do that is if our equipment are in jeopardy and to save or protect that equipment.
And with the excess water from this system, Mr. Halliday says storm water presents challenges for the island's sewage network.
We're constantly clearing the sewer lines because we have a lot of material that goes into our sewage which is unauthorized. And despite our pleas, despite our actions, we still find that we have a number of culprits that are contributing to that. The secondary issue to that really is that our sewage plant is not, for the moment, adequate. It cannot sustain the large amounts of sewage that is going to it. And this is exacerbated by storm waters We have a number of facilities, a number of clients who allow their stormwater to pass into the sewage network. And our sewage network is a closed system. It was not built for that.
And the high winds associated with Hurricane Maria affected some MCTV customers today. MCTV is assuring its subscribers that technical teams are addressing the situation and apologizes for any inconvenience caused. The customers are invited to call 228-6288 to log service calls. We'll take a break here, but be back with more news in just a moment.
Do you want audience numbers? Over 140,000 people are watching Morning Barbados and the evening news. 6 out of 10 top radio personalities are found right here at the CBC. CBC delivers the audience you need.
Here comes Asa. Inspired by a true story, this series is set in 19th century Japan and tells the story of a woman who overcomes adversity to forge a path in the world of business. A heartfelt, humorous drama and romance. Here Comes Asa airs Tuesdays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. on CBC TV 8.
The only person I can control in this world is me. It appeals to me because some people will try to get everyone to follow them or try to control everyone around them. But the only person in this life you could influence or control is yourself.
Barbadians are being assured that every effort is being undertaken to ensure the highest standard of transparency in the collection of disaster relief funds from the public. Director General of the Barbados Red Cross, Edmund Bradshaw, stresses that those efforts extend to both local and international appeal drives. He was speaking during a recent press briefing for the launch of the Barbados Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund at the CIBC First Caribbean headquarters in Warrens. Mr. Bradshaw says once the appeal fund has been set up, the banking institutions take full charge of the operation, even though it's a Red Cross project.
We are not even signatories to the accounts. We don't draw down on the money that is raised in the appeal here. We take out nothing. At the end of it, we ask all of the banks to transfer to one bank. That is totaled up. We keep informing the press how much money has been raised in the appeal. We ask the banks every fortnight to give us an update, and we try to keep the media informed. We then instruct the bank, the one bank that has all the money then, to transfer to the international appeal. We never touch the money here in Barbados.
Mr. Bradshaw says Barbadians have always shown a willingness to give when called upon. He says over time he's seen an increase in their philanthropic nature.
The appeals have gone very well. When I started the first appeal, I think I did it for Mozambique, in the droughts in Mozambique for women and children who were dying in those droughts. The response was small, but I have seen the situation in Barbados now where over the years the pendulum has fully swung, and now everybody is interested in helping and supporting the appeals.
The Barbados Council for the Disabled is continuing to strengthen its member organizations, this time through its Leadership and Succession Training Program. That program, which was supported by Caribbean Catalyst Inc., consisted of 3 sessions and showed participants the different ways they can better develop their organizations. Speaking at the certificate presentation, Director of the Barbados Council for the Disabled, Patricia Padmore Blackman, encouraged the participants to use what they've learned.
We are all leaders. We are personal leaders. And as leaders, we start with ourselves. You know, in order to be able to lead and inspire others, we have to have that spirit within us, that team building, that confidence. And I'm sure over the 3 weeks, 3 days that you would have done this, I'm sure our Madam Trainer would have instilled this in you and she would have pounded this in your ears.
One of the participants, Kelvin Arthur, a member of the Barbados National Organization of the Disabled, explained how the program helped him.
The knowledge that I've gained here in these 3 sessions, I will implement and make sure that the organization hold up their end to what that is said and done here. And Ms. Jackson, I think, you said it very clearly. Not only did we learn how to look at our organizations as a whole, but more importantly, we all got to look really deep into ourselves and see what we as a whole can do for our organizations and to be a better person in general.
A relatively new entity is seeking to provide a developmental forum for songwriters and musicians to gain experience, input from established artists, and opportunities to advance in their chosen field. It's called Writer's Block and is the brainchild of Bakari Murray, who's the managing director of Darkroom Recordings. He spoke about the forum during a media launch at Sky Mall.
Writer's Block provides songwriting and music development scholarships and recording contracts to young talented artists. It uses music as a vehicle to drive their journey into identity building, social responsibility, and lyrical excellence. Emerging from the need to harness the energy and nurture the raw talent of youth, Writer's Block meets them on their own fertile, unfiltered ground while providing guidance to promote refinement, reinterpretation, and expression of their stories. This emphasis is on writing since it is telling a story of our own, since it's telling our own unique stories that will give their work global distinction.
Writer's Block has also received the support of the Youth and Culture Ministry. Director of Youth Affairs, Cleviston Hunt, says they are pleased to be part of the developmental initiative.
When the project came to us within the ministry, we went through the process of vetting the project, and it was consistent with what we believe within the ministry, and so we felt that we would invest in this project, and we have continued to do so to the extent that we have been able to produce a product, and we are proud of that.
Well, in 2nd Avenue, Hoyts Village, St. James, there was a ray of sunshine through the rainy weather. Rosalie Carlotta Cox, originally from French Village, St. Peter, was born on September 17, 1917, and celebrated her birthday today with friends and family, including her 2 surviving children, Clem Cox and Melda Hines. She received an official visit from Acting Governor General Sir Philip Graves, and while soft-spoken and generally quiet on the day, the deeply religious centenarian was able to recite some of Psalm 23. Rosalie has 8 grandchildren, and daughter Melda says she was a strong woman who worked on the plantation.
She mostly eat the food from the ground, like potatoes and yams and different things. Those are the kind of food that my mom would eat. And to me, I don't think she was. To me, she's the kind of person that used to be always sick. To me, I think she was fairly healthy when I think about it.
Well, happy birthday to you, Miss Cox. So coming up after this break, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region.
Diamond Dazzler, it's time to play. Diamond Dazzler, the new instant $250,000 scratch game from the Barbados Lottery. Available at select lottery outlets.
Secure your future, be financially strong. Since 1983, we have been there for you. A smart range of products, great tax benefits. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union, Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers
MCTV bringing you all the sporting action with the biggest sports channels like ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, Golf, and SportsMax. Love sports? Love the Max Pack package on MCTV. More sports, better price. MCTV, still the right choice.
Doctors at the Georgetown Public Hospital in Guyana made a strange discovery recently when a woman with 2 uteruses gave birth to 2 babies.
It's the first case of its kind in the local health sector. On Thursday, medical officials held a meeting to release details of a case of a Guyanese woman with 2 uteruses who gave birth to 2 babies at the Georgetown Public Hospital. Senior Registrar attached to the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Dr. Rafi Rosen, made the discovery.
Sometimes diffusion, a process known as apoptosis, usually happens, which is a programmed cell death. So this happens and it forms a cavity, a single cavity that gives rise to the uterine cavity for a female. Now in this case, the apoptosis happened, but the septum that usually supposed to go away stayed. So it divided the uterus into 2 cavities, independent cavities with 2 cervix.
Dr. Rosen further explained that the patient had developed pregnancy twice because of the permanent partition of the uterus, and that the 2 partitions had developed all the physical attachments one uterus would normally have. In this case, the 2 babies were not considered twins.
It looks like a normal uterus, but a normal uterus will have this area up that way, all right, not down. So that might give you a suspicion that something is wrong. This is abnormal uterus. So there are different types of abnormalities that we have.
We're happy to report that both the mother and the babies are healthy and were discharged from the hospital. Sole investigator Christian Mute has completed his report into the ferry fiasco in Trinidad and Tobago and submitted his findings to Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley.
Dr. Rowley made the announcement in the Parliament this afternoon following questions from the opposition. Mr. Mute was appointed by the Prime Minister in the middle of August to probe the procurement of the Ocean Flower 2 and Cabo Star vessels. The 1-month deadline was yesterday, and Dr. Rowley says he is in possession of the report.
I have been summoned to appear before the Joint Select Committee that is investigating this matter. I have agreed to attend, and I would prefer to make my comments at that venue on that occasion.
During Prime Minister's questions, Dr. Rowley was also asked to give more details about what made him believe something was crooked in the Ocean Flower 2 deal. He revealed that he will give that information, as you just heard, to the Joint Select Committee currently investigating that matter.
I have been summoned to appear before the Joint Select Committee that is investigating this matter. I have agreed to attend, and I would prefer to make my comments at that venue on that occasion.
Well, here's a tip now from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Always lock your car, even if it is in front of your home. This auto theft prevention tip is brought to you in association with the Royal Barbados Police Force.